Have you ever heard the story of the wicked King of Duk? It happened about 100 years ago. Sit up, listen well, and don't look away. Because once you start this story, you must hear it to the end. A long time ago, Duk was ruled by King Tsaku. He was strong. He was feared. But what people did not know was that his strength came from something dark, something evil. Under his palace in a deep black pit lived a god that was always hungry, a god that wanted human flesh and blood. At first, the king fed its slaves. When the slaves finished, he fed its prisoners. When the prisoners were no more, he turned to his own people. One by one, the villagers disappeared. A man who walked home late from the farm, a mother fetching water after sunset, a child playing too far from home, all went missing without any news. The people were afraid. Who wouldn't be? They thought spirits were taking their loved ones. They locked their doors before nightfall. But still, the disappearances continued. Only two men knew the truth: Gopher, the king's chief warrior, and Lamba, the king's priest. They had seen the pit. They had heard the screams. They had watched with their own eyes as the king threw people inside, and the god devoured them, but they could not speak. Because the king had warned them, if you speak, you will be next. For years, the king thought no one would ever know. Until one night, he met his match. That night, the king's soldiers roamed Duk, looking for their next victim. They saw a young, vulnerable girl walking home alone, humming a song her grandmother had taught her. She didn't hear them coming. A rough hand grabbed her mouth. The world spun. The last thing she saw was the moon before darkness swallowed her. When she woke up, she was inside the palace with the king before her. She was full of fear, but there was nowhere to run to. She could hear the sound of water dripping. The air smelled of something old, something rotten. And then she heard a deep, slow breathing from inside the pit. Her name was Pamzang, and her grandmother always told her she was chosen to liberate the people of Duk, but she didn't know how and when. She turned her head and saw the king standing before her. He was smiling. "You should feel honored," he said. "You will keep Duk strong." She looked past him into the pit. It was deep, black, endless, and down below, something moved, a shape too big to be human. The king's men held her arms. He walked closer, placed his hand on her shoulder and pushed. She fell into the pit, but there was no sound or cry from her. All of a sudden, Beast roared in a loud cry and threw her out of the pit. The king was surprised. This has never happened before. He tried to push her back. This time, sharp pain shot through his chest. He staggered. His own breath was choking him. The god in the pit did not move. The king fell to his knees, his hands clawing at his throat. The soldiers rushed to help him, but the moment they touched him, they too stumbled back. Pamzang stood still. The pain in the king's body grew. His fingers twisted, his bones cracked, and then he knew. His time was over. His men screamed and ran. One of them threw open the palace doors and the people of Duk rushed in. They saw their king, kneeling on the ground, gasping like a dying man. They saw Pamzang, standing beside him, unafraid and untouched. The truth poured out like water from a broken pot. The missing people, the secret sacrifices, the god beneath the palace. The people did not wait for answers. They dragged the king from where he lay. He kicked, he fought, but his body was weak. The people of Duk had no mercy. Then, something moved from the deep pit. A deep, low growl rose from the pit. The ground trembled. The air filled with a terrible, wet sound, like a giant beast licking its lips. The god was awake. The people stepped back and watched in horror as a black, slimy shape rose from the pit. It was huge, bigger than 10 men. Its mouth stretched wide enough to swallow a man whole. The king screamed. The god lunged forward, and just like that, King Tsaku, who had fed it for years, was swallowed in one bite. The god let out a loud rumbling sound. Then, without another look at the people, it turned and crawled back into the pit, and the pit closed over it as if it never existed. The people of Duk stood frozen. No one spoke, no one moved. The palace, the pit, the years of terror, it was all over. That night, the kingship was taken away from his family forever. The palace was burned down and forgotten. The people made Pamzang their queen. She ruled with love, not fear. She tore down the palace, sealed the pit, and burned every idol in Duk. No one was ever taken again. And since that day, no king has ever ruled Duk again. Only queens? For more chilling stories like this, hit that subscribe button, like and share with friends.